Good morning, y'all. Good morning. I want to say one verse. He lives. Y'all know that one. All right. Here we go. I serve a risen Savior. He's in the world today. I know that He is living, whatever men may say. I see His hand of mercy. I hear His voice of cheer. And just the time I need Him, He's always here. He lives, Christ Jesus lives today. He walks with me and talks with me along life's narrow way. He lives, salvation to impart. You ask me how I know He lives. He lives within my heart. All join the choir now. Sounds good, didn't it?
Thank y'all for coming this morning. I know that the weather is not the best in the world as far as comfort, but you know, the night we're going to look at here in a minute when Jesus prayed in the garden at night, I have a feeling it wasn't the warmest night there. Jerusalem is quite a little cool place, and it sits on about the same parallel as we sit on in the Middle East. And so they have snow and cool nights this time of year. And so we don't think about it. We think about it as a warm, cozy garden sometimes. But it could have been cool just like this on that night before He was crucified. Let's begin by going to the Lord in prayer, and then we'll look at the scripture this morning.
Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for this day. And Lord, what this day represents, Lord, that you rose again from the grave, Lord, that we could have been able to come here and worship you. Thank you, Lord, that you gave your life for us for our sins, Lord, that you rose again to have eternal life. Lord, I pray for our service this morning, Lord, that the priest brings the sunrise service right here this morning, Lord, and anything as they do their thing in the regular service that this played on this morning. I pray, Lord, that blessing upon this whole day, Lord, even though the weather's not real bright, Lord, but we know you're in control of everything. So ask you to bless us all you can, Lord, and we can leave this place tomorrow instead of we've been in the house of the Lord. Lord, ask you to bless our church, continue blessing upon us everything we do. Bless on our prayer list, God, just have your way in our lives. Watch over us, care for us, Lord. Forgive us, we fail, we just have to pray. Amen.
If you're looking in your Bible, it's going to be in Matthew chapter 26. It's a very familiar passage, of course, this time of year. Jesus has instituted with the disciples the Lord's Supper. He has gone out across the Kidron Valley, and now He's over on the Mount of Olives. And we'll pick up the 36th verse of the 26th chapter. Matthew 26, 36, it says, Then comes Jesus with them, that is the disciples, unto a place called Gethsemane, and He said unto the disciples, Sit here while I go over there and pray. And He took with Him Peter and the two sons of Zebedee, James and John, and began to be sorrowful and very heavy. Then said He unto them, My soul is exceedingly sorrowful, even unto death. Tarry here and watch with me. And He went a little farther and fell on His face, prayed, and said, O Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will. And He comes to His disciples and finds them asleep. And He said unto Peter, What? Could you not watch with me 1 hour? Watch and pray that you enter not into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. He went away again the second time and prayed, saying, O my Father, if this cup may pass away from me, except I drink it, your will be done. And He came and found them asleep again, and their eyes were heavy. And He left them and went again and prayed the third time, saying the same words. Then comes He to His disciples and said unto them, Sleep on now and take your rest. Behold, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going. Behold, He is at hand, and is betraying them.
Amen.
I want to look at this passage just briefly. Of course, out here I have 5 points, but I'm going to make them as brief as I can in this. As Jesus in the garden, as we look at Him in this time of prayer where He depends so much on His Father, I think it's instructional of Him, what He's doing, what's going on in His life. And I think it's very instructional for us so that we can learn in the deepest moments, in the times of our life when our life is most difficult. I think this passage says something about how you get through those times, how those times God will help you in them. So we're going to look at this time of prayer here. First of all, I want to look at it. The first thing I see about it is Jesus comes with his disciples, but there's a type of prayer, there's a type of place in your life when you come to God that you have to go alone. Even your closest friends can't go there with you. So he brought his disciples and his three intimate ones that he had been mentoring, and then he leaves them, and then he goes to a place because the business he's going to transact there is going to be business that's left between him and the Father. It's something that's personal. It's something that only is meant for him. Only he can understand it. He was the unique Son of God that would be going to the cross and dying for our sins. This was something that he and he alone. And I think that applies to us sometimes. There's times in our lives when there's others who can help us. And there's nothing better than having a bunch of folks praying for us. Well, Dave, have you ever been in a tough time? Have you ever been in a difficult time? Life's ever been rough? And you've asked folks to pray, and you've got some praying folks, and they're praying for you. You know it. It makes a difference. You know that people are standing in the gap for you. They may be miles away, or they may be in another county, or even in another state. But their prayers are unhindered before God, and God hears and answers those prayers. And you can feel it. You can know that there are others that are praying. I can tell you that from personal experience. But there are some things that God calls you to do, some areas in your life that you're going to have to go on. It's just between you and God. It's that unique personal business that God is doing with you and you alone that he and you need to talk about and need to make sure that you're listening to the Father. So the first thing I see in this is that this was such a time in Christ's life that he would not even take his closest. Can you imagine that? He had taken them up to the Mount of Transfiguration, and there they had seen him transfigured, seen him in his glory. That was a time that he could share with them. But here's the time that he could not share with them. He said, stay here and pray. But I've got to go over there by myself. I see that first. Second thing I see about it, I see that this type of prayer is a humbling prayer. It's humbling. Even to the Son of God. Notice what it said. He went just a little place farther, and it says that he fell on his face. If you read the whole story, you'll look and see he came to this place first and he fell on his knees. But his knees were not as low as he needed to go. Here was the Son of God himself. He said after that, then he fell on his face. So here we have him out in the garden alone. And now he is so broken. He is so humbled. He's come to that place that he counts himself of no value and of God of all value. I don't know how to explain that when it relates to Jesus and God, because I know Jesus is God. But I know as a man, he came, and as Jesus, he came as a man, and he was our substitute. He acted on our behalf, so he acted and felt as we are. One thing we'll see in our sermon this morning is that every time Jesus did something, especially when it relates to a miracle or something like this, it took something out of him. He entered into it in such a unique, personal way that he felt what you and I would have felt. He understood it like you and I would have understood it. So when he comes to this garden and he's going to transact business with the Father, and he's going to ask the Father for a very special request. He's going to go to the Father and ask him something that is difficult. And so it brings him all the way to his face. To me, that's something I think we need to understand. Is we have an unrealistic view, I think, many times, especially in the American church, of who God is. We really have come to the place that we think God is our cosmic go-get-it-all person. Whatever my problem is, whatever my need is, all I got to go is to the big bank of God and withdraw from that, and I can get whatever I want. And that was not Jesus' view of God. It's not a biblical view of God. A biblical view of God is that we come to him and say, Father, here am I. What is it that you require from me? What is it that you're saying? Not what I need, not how I feel, not what gets me the best thing out of life that I think, not what you're doing. And that's humbling. We have to bend our self-will. We have to bend our own desires, bend our own wants, bend what we think is best for ourselves, and finally get to that place and say, Lord, here I am. I'm not offering you advice. I'm coming for advice. I'm coming for direction. I'm coming to know your will. I'm coming to understand what it is that you want out of me. And here Jesus was. He came and he humbled himself. If the Son of God humbled himself, how much more should we humble ourselves? The other thing I see, the third thing I see when we look at it, the business was transacted on a family. He comes and said, oh, Father. He uses that unique phrase there of an intimate Father. One that knew him and loved him and cared for him. He came to him and he said, Father, this is a request that I'm making of you. The request is that cut compassion. And he comes to him, and though it was a solitary place, and though he came humble, he came to him in a way that he expected to hear from the Father. He had told his disciples, if your fathers would, you come to them and ask them for bread, do you give them stones? Or ask them for a fish, do you give them snakes? He said, no, you come to your Father. And a loving Father, you expect him to hear you. And you expect him to do what's best for you. You expect him to care about you, to love you, to be concerned about you. He said, how much different should we come to the Father in heaven? So he comes to his Father. And he petitions him on a family level. I mean, sometimes we're so far from God that we petition him like he's a legal judge sitting out there behind the magistrate court of heaven, and he's looking over in his big robe, and he's passing out sentence upon us, and we come so fearful. We should come humbly, but we should also come knowing that he's our Father. He cares for us like a Father. He loves us like a Father. As a matter of fact, the Bible says he's so much like a Father that when we go astray, he disciplines us like a Father. So we need to think of God that way. We need to understand that. We don't need to become so familiar with God like some folks do, that he's the big man upstairs, or some of these other phrases that folks use. We need to recognize who God is. We also need to recognize he's given us the right. He's given us the ability, just like Jesus, to come to him and say, Father, here's the Father. It's great. I've got a task, Jesus said ahead of me, that I don't know that I can do. So, Father, could it be that you would allow this to pass away from us? He's speaking as a man. He's speaking as one of us. He knows the path. He knows what's going to happen. But he also knows what's in the heart of men. He was a perfect man, so he speaks, and we can understand. I mean, could you have related to Jesus if he just marched up to Calvary's Hill and said, okay, slap the nails in, I'm ready? He was a human being, a real human being. Yes, he was God, but he was also, that way he come to us and said, I know how you felt. I felt like you feel. I've been to the places you've been. I know when you come and make a petition and ask. I know what's going on in your heart. It's a family matter. I want us to understand this morning, the transaction that we make with God, the business we have with God, is family business. We're not outsiders. We ought to be. We deserve to be. But through the blood of Jesus Christ, we're not outsiders. We can go and call him our Father. Isn't that what Jesus said when you pray? How should you address the Father? He says, our Father. He's in heaven. Hallowed be your name. When we come to him at the deepest, most distressed part of our life, we need to learn to come to him as a Father and ask him and expect him to answer like a good Father. Fourth point we see, it's a persevering prayer. I know some folks have said, well, it's a prayer of unbelief if you ask more than once. You ought to ask your prayer and realize God hears it and leaves it there. Well, somebody ought to have told that to Jesus. We find here, he goes to the Father not once, not twice, but 3 times. And he says, Father, this is a difficult thing, speaking as his man. I believe the fear, if you could say it, isn't a fear as these are, but I think the thing that's in Jesus' heart is that he realizes for the first time in all eternity, he's going to be separated from the Father. This unique relationship of love, care, concern. And that he'd have to die truly. He wouldn't have to pretend to die. He wouldn't have some cosmic pull the wool over the eyes to die. He was going to have to die. Death, in its most basic terminology, is separation from God. But he's separated from the eternal living God. For in God there's life and no death. As long as you're connected with him, you cannot die. There is no death. And so he would separate himself somehow, some way from the Father. There on the cross of Calvary when the darkness came and died. He'd say it's finished. And he gave up his spirit and his own life. And so in that moment of difficult time, he came to the Father, and he came to the Father, and he came to the Father. I want to tell you, when that burden gets upon you, and you've gone to that lowly place. And there you humble yourself before God. And you realize that He's Father. I believe when it comes to the pressure, it's things that come to us, I believe it's worth taking to the Father. It's really of the necessity again and again and again. You know what that shows? It shows that's concern on our part too. It's not just a trivial matter. It's not just a fleeting thing. It's just not something, oh Lord, if you could look into your great bag in heaven and pull me out another toy and give it. No, that's not that. It's God, here's my soul. I'm laid out before you. I'm poured out like a drink offering. My life is expressed. And Lord, here it is. I'm telling you. I know you're here, but I know you're going to answer. Here it is. And I think our prayer needs to be more like that. Rather than just toss it up in the air, how many other things we can ask God, see how much falls that we can pick up. I will tell you, you need to prepare for, if you live just a little while, you're going to come to some of the times of prayer. And it's just not the Lord bless me with a new toy today. It's God, my soul hurts. My heart aches. I don't know if I can bear this up. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can get out of bed, make another day. I mean, it's that type of place. It's like that the pressure of the world and the things of the world got so heavy that you need to understand. God understands. Jesus understands. He's been there. He says, ask and ask and ask. Believe, I'll hear. And then finally, we see that this prayer and all prayer, it ultimately needs to be prayers of resignation. Finally, he said, Lord, you've heard my heart. You know what I've said. But the bottom line of this, Lord, is your will needs to be done. See, that's the hardest part. Let's just give up to God the power, the authority that you possess in Jesus, and Him still be God. I see folks that live Christian lives. I believe they're saved. I believe they walk with God. They know God. But they come to that place in their life where something dramatic happens, something difficult happens. Maybe they lose a child, or maybe they lose a spouse, or maybe they lose a job, or something. And in that moment, they look at God, and their faith fizzles. And they say, it's good you have done something about it. God, are you still God? Are you still there? What happened? You know what the problem is? We haven't learned to resign to God. Say, God, this is all yours in. My child was your child. My spouse was your spouse. My mom and dad is your mom and dad. My job was your job. Whatever that difficult place of life gets to be, maybe it's my health. It's your health. I don't have a right, any more than you may, to live healthy and happy and well. It's God's will. Maybe it's God's will that I should suffer patiently and trust God even unto death. God doesn't fail when someone dies. We don't know what God's plans are. If that person is a believer, that person will know soon the reason why God does what He does. But if you come to that place, you can come to a lonely place and humble yourself before God and know that He's your Father and persevere in prayer, then you can be satisfied with God's answer. Can you be satisfied when God says no? Can you be satisfied when God says wait? And wouldn't you sometimes rather Him say no than just wait? I'm not going to tell you. Just wait. But when you come to the place that Jesus can hear, and you can trust God with your very life, and you can know that even if He allows your life to be taken, God is still there. And by and by, we'll understand why He does what He does. Maybe here, maybe there. Not that important that I understand is what's important. That I love Him. That I trust Him. I say, God, I'm going to tell you, it's easier to preach that than it is to live. All need to walk by faith and understand God is God. We'll just ask Him to trust Him. I can promise you, it'll be all right. It didn't look like it was all right when they beat Him to a wooden edges. I life. It didn't look like it was all right when he was carrying the cross to Calvary. It didn't look like he was all right when he was nailed to the cross. It didn't look like he was all right when he gave up the ghost and they put him in a tomb and rolled the stone away. I'm here to tell you this morning, everything's all right. Because God will the third he raised. And he did. Now he didn't need to roll the stone away for Jesus to get out. Jesus walked through the wall to see the disciple. He doesn't walk out. You know how the stone was rolled away? So we can look at it. I want you to know today that when you come to this place, there's a God you can trust. He'll never leave you by yourself. He will walk with you. The psalmist said, yea, though I go walk in the valley of the shadow of death, fear no evil. That's what makes us. Smallest with our hearts. How unlike Jesus, so we take our hearts are. We want to control, we want to tell you how to end this to come out. We want to put answers away. We want to write the script so we write off at the sunset all that we do. Father, I pray today that we'll learn to trust you. Even in our darkest, deepest, most difficult moments, we can know that you're here with us, that you're walking. Ultimately, it's our good. Thank you for this word that you give us. Help us understand and worship you and praise you in Jesus' name.